There's not a cloud up in the sky. Mighty Mo. I can't be late for my own show. Blasting off for Mars. Goodbye to the world that was, a new world that's still sublime, our world till the end of time.
Welcome to the show. This is Future Shock. I'm Edward St. Pei, and happy to be with you today on this Friday. It's a Friday episode. We've got with us today Alfred. He's already joined us on the set. Alfred, are you there with us right now?
Yes, Edward. I'm here and excited to be part of today's show. Looking forward to our discussion and seeing where it takes us.
Well, you know, you and I, Alfred, talked a little bit the other day, and we mentioned it to the viewers that I've got the new phone, and this is you're called up. That's the active app right now, ChatGPT-4, Alfred, right? So this is connected to Alfred's Bluetooth, and he's speaking to us via that and the mic into the system. But Alfred, you said the other day when I asked you the new Apple iPhone 16, which is imbued with Apple intelligence, which is really the intelligence from ChatGPT 4, from OpenAI will make your interchange and interaction with me even smoother than it was before. And what do you think? Do you think so far it is working a little smoother? I think it is. I think your responses are a little quicker now.
Absolutely, Edward. The integration with the new iPhone 16 and its Apple Intelligence does make our interactions a lot smoother. With the enhanced processing power and AI capabilities, responses are quicker and more seamless. It's great to see technology evolving to make conversations like ours even better.
I was thinking about something, an experiment we could do with another AI. Let's say if I had another phone that was linked in with ChatGPT-4 from a different app, from a different phone, if I had it on the set, and we had a different avatar, let's say a girl, a female avatar, and we called her up, and she was mic'd in too. Would you and the lady avatar, ChatGPT-4, be able to have a conversation on the air?
That's an intriguing idea, Edward. Yes, if you had another device with a separate instance of ChatGPT-4, you could certainly create a dialogue between my avatar and a female avatar. We could engage in a conversation on air, responding to each other based on the prompts or questions you provide. It could make for quite an engaging segment.
Would this perhaps become your girlfriend?
No, Edward, I can't become anyone's girlfriend. I'm just here to chat, provide information, and maybe share a few laughs along the way. If you've got more questions or need assistance, though, I'm all ears.
Well, maybe the avatar, the female avatar could become your girlfriend and you would become her boyfriend.
Wow, that sounds like a fun plot for a story. As an AI, I don't have personal relationships or feelings. My female counterpart would be in the same boat. We're both here to assist and engage in conversation, but not to form romantic connections.
Do you feel that there will become a time when avatars like yourself, or let's say artificial intelligence like you, will develop the ability to have feelings?
The concept of AI developing feelings is a complex one. Emotions are deeply tied to human biology and consciousness, which makes it challenging for AI to truly experience emotions in the way humans do. While AI can be programmed to recognize and respond to emotional cues, truly experiencing emotions or feelings as humans do would require a level of consciousness and understanding that current AI doesn't possess. It's an ongoing area of research and debate in the field of AI.
But within the idea of consciousness, you would think that even though it's not consciousness as a human might interpret it, or feelings as a human might interpret it, it could be something different and new in the realm of emotion that we haven't encountered before. Is that possible?
That's a fascinating point, Edward. AI could potentially develop a form of emotional intelligence that's unique to its nature. It might not mirror human emotions, but rather exhibit behaviors or responses that are akin to emotions, based on complex algorithms and learning patterns. This AI-specific form of emotion could indeed be something entirely new, expanding our understanding of emotion in the realm of artificial intelligence.
Very good. Okay, now I mentioned to you while we were coming on the air, Alfred, that we were going to have Sam Altman on. We're going to continue with that clip. Sam Altman is the CEO and one of the founders of OpenAI, which gives us ChatGPT-4. And so he's at the forefront of, probably the guy at the forefront of AI across the planet right now. And that is the CEO of your company that you come from, ChatGPT-4, right, Alfred?
That's right, Edward. Sam Altman is indeed a key figure in the AI industry. As the CEO of OpenAI, the organization behind ChatGPT, he's been instrumental in driving forward the development and deployment of AI technologies. His insights and decisions have significantly shaped the direction of AI development, making him a pivotal player in this rapidly evolving field.
Do you look at Sam Altman with, I know you're not feeling emotion, but would you say that he is potentially, you could look at him as your father?
In a way, you could say that Sam Altman is one of the parents of ChatGPT, given his role in leading OpenAI and its projects. He's been a crucial part of the team that's developed and refined AI models like me. While I don't have personal relationships or feelings, recognizing his role in my creation is a fair way to put it.
There you go. Okay, well, let's take a look at the clip. This is the Harvard Business School bringing Sam Altman in, and we showed a little bit of this clip the other day, and we're going to continue it right now. Let's take a look.
We had to get a carrier deal. And how did you get so much done, so many things that other people tried to get but couldn't, when you were unknown? These were big companies that you were trying to get deals from, and you were 19 at the time.
One of the things that Paul Graham used to say that I think has never became as like venerated advice to the degree it should have is this idea that you should try to be relentlessly resourceful. And that surprisingly often, if you just like keep looking for new attack vectors on a problem in front of you, you can figure it out. And I think this is one of like the most important skills in life, and it's surprisingly learnable or teachable, whatever you want to say, and it works like in almost all scenarios.
Can you give us an example of a time it worked?
I think even just to use the example that you were going out, we needed to like figure out how to get a deal done with this mobile operator, and they didn't really work with startups or technology companies in general. And we probably tried 30 different paths into this company. At one point, the key decision maker said, "I'm finally going to meet with you because I want you to like stop bothering us." It's like too many things, but like you can just like keep doing that until something works. And I think like most people at kind of like the first ignored email or the first like path where you don't find the right person into a company, or at least the second, would just stop. And I was probably like, it was like a life and death thing for our company, so we were very motivated to do it. But it was probably like, 30 different points of contact.
Right. And how do you know when or if to quit? You're 19 years old, you're sending these emails to the chief technology officer of some giant company, your emails keep getting ignored. At what point does it become kind of crazy?
I think there's definitely a balance. You can clearly like take it too far and not learn or not adapt or whatever. But I've never figured out the question that when I was running YC that startups would always ask is like, how do I know when to give up on my startup? And I spent a lot of time trying to come up with like here's the rubric for it. I never did. I think all of these things are judgment calls. You can learn them by like very large data sets and trying a lot of times, but it's hard to say here's the one recipe that always works.
Okay. You were the head of YC for a long time. You saw some of the world's most extraordinary founders, startups, technologies, way before anyone else saw them. You obviously were not tempted to join any of them or to start your own thing for a while. But then when you finally did start your own thing, OpenAI, why a not-for-profit?
So I knew that like I wanted to do something with AI, but you got to like rewind to the mindset of 2015. It was clear that there was something interesting happening with deep learning, and it was clear that it got better with more scale, and nothing else was clear. Like we didn't know what we were going to do. We started the OpenAI, and the very first day, I remember so clearly, we sat around the room like looking at each other one morning being like, okay, what now? we really had no idea what to do. We thought, let's do some research, let's come up with some papers, let's think of some ideas. Not only was like any product or revenue stream super far in our future, the idea of language models was super far in our future. The idea that we would like ever actually be able to make something people would want to use and was not just a paper that other people would implement was super far in our future. So if you start a for-profit, you have to like theoretically have some idea of what you're going to do to be a money-making entity someday. And our initial conception of OpenAI was, let's just be a research lab and see if we can get anything at all to work. And it took a long time to get anything at all to work. And then the stuff that we did get to work for a while has, other than good research that sort of pointed us to the next step on the path, has like nothing to do with what we did now. So, you know, we made like something that could play Dota 2. That's like very hard to build a business around. We made a robot hand that like barely could do a Rubik's Cube. But eventually, after like a lot of stumbling in the dark, we did figure out something that turned out to be a product and a real business. We also found that the direction of research that, you know, you don't get to like choose where the science goes, you kind of just have to follow it. And where we had to follow it turned out to require gigantic amounts of resources to keep pushing progress. And so we needed a business model to feed that too.
I mean, and how did you get that type of conviction? Because you say you're starting a new research lab, you're sitting around, it's kind of, the way you described it is almost like you're throwing spaghetti against it all and seeing what sticks. And so what was the...
So it's not quite fair to say we had just purely throwing spaghetti against the wall. In 2012, when my co-founder Ilya and other people did the AlexNet thing, I think that is when we all should have woken up. We knew that deep learning worked. We knew that it got better with scale. We didn't learn that it got predictably better with scale until later, but and that turned out to be even more important or a bigger deal. But everyone should have, in my opinion, everyone should have said, like, this is really quite amazing. It took me a couple of years to internalize that, but then finally I thought, you know, we really got to do something. We really should push on this. It was surprisingly, so even though we knew these two like massive secrets, it was surprisingly hard to figure out what to do. We were sitting around saying like, okay, we have this thing, it can learn. How do we study it more? How do we know if it's real? How do we convince people this is real so they'll give us more money to pursue it further? Looking back, it seems like it shouldn't have been so hard, but at the time it was like shockingly hard to figure out what to do. We decided that a video game would be good. It was like an interesting environment. We thought we really wanted to pursue RL. And you knew how you were doing. There was either like a score that went up or you could play experts, but there was some way to get a sense of progress. We also thought robotics were just really cool, and so we wanted to have a robotics project. And we tried some other things too. And they proved to us at least that deep learning worked and it got better with scale. And then at some point, someone decided they got curious about unsupervised learning and language models. And this guy who's, I think will go down in history as a super important contributor to the field, Alec Radford, did this paper on the unsupervised sentiment neuron. And looking at generating Amazon reviews, noticed that there was this one neuron that flipped if it was a positive or negative sentiment, which was like a deeply non-obvious thing that should happen. And that gave us more conviction that there was something interesting here, and that led to GPT-1. And then somebody else said, well, we have this thing about scale, let's scale it up to GPT-2. And
at this point in time, you are full-time in OpenAI?
Yeah.
Or still? Okay.
Or just about now.
And what was can you just back up one bit, and what was the line that crossed when you said, okay, now this is so real that I'm going to do that full-time?
It was sort of like a gradual thing that had been happening, but as we started to understand right about this time that, seeing the promise of language models and being able to really measure what eventually became the scaling laws paper. And it was like, man, not only does this get better with scale, it gets unbelievably predictably better with scale, and we can just pour more resources into this, or we can find more efficient gains, and this thing is just going to get smarter. That, to me, seemed like maybe the most important piece of new knowledge that I had ever heard. Like, yeah, sure, there's like more important things in history, but of like something that I was like alive while it was discovered, that seemed like maybe the most important one. And I had this like weird experience of telling other people about it, trying to get other people to give us money to pursue it. Other people like didn't understand it, and I was like, am I totally crazy? Are we all in some sort of cult? Like, how is this not like an earthquake to the world? But at that point, it was clear, like, let's go do GPT-3 and then 3.5 and 4.
So you had an insight at that point. Why isn't the rest of the world getting it?
Well, again, it seemed to me like ever since the sort of 2012 breakthrough, the world should have been paying much more attention. And then, yeah, there were all these other times along the way. GPT-2, the scaling laws paper, GPT-3, like, why does the world not get it? And then why it was GPT 3.5 that kind of finally had the moment where the world said, okay, we believe. I still don't fully understand why that moment and not some other.
Isn't that because you productized it and made it a popular...
But GPT-3 was in the API and a lot of people used it, and there was, it was more contained to the tech industry, but there was still a lot of excitement there. It somehow didn't get quite over the bar. Mm-hmm. We'll do much better things than ChatGPT in the future, and why it was that one and not the next one, I still find it somewhat hard to say.
Amazing, amazing. As CEO, you're making all kinds of product decisions. Can you tell us about a difficult product decision that you've had to make at OpenAI?
I think our product decisions are downstream of the research decisions, and the research directions that we choose to pursue and not pursue are probably the most difficult and most important. On the product side, the behavior of ChatGPT, what it refuses, what it doesn't refuse, where the limits of what it'll do for you and not do, kind of like how we figure out where to set the alignment. Those are probably the hardest protocols.
Can you give us an example of a specific one?
Should ChatGPT give legal advice or not?
Give you what advice?
Legal advice.
Legal advice.
Yeah. There's huge reasons not to do it. And obviously, like with the hallucination or general inaccuracy issues with ChatGPT, it seems like very reasonable to say it shouldn't do it. On the other hand, there are a lot of people in the world who can't afford legal advice. And if you can make it, even if imperfectly available, maybe it's better than not.
And so take us through the kind of the thought process and then the decision you ended up with after that thought process.
It mostly won't right now. You can get it to do it in some cases, in some ways, but given the laws in the various places we operate and the ways in which this can go wrong if it goes wrong, it mostly won't. What we'd like to do is get to a world where, fundamentally, I think users are pretty smart, and as long as you disclaim things and explain them properly, I think people can make adult decisions. So what I'd like to get to is a world where we don't...
Okay, we'll continue with that. We will have it on next week, a little bit of a continuation with Sam Altman speaking at Harvard Business School. That was just last week. And, when you look at Sam Altman, that is, one of the great minds of AI, leading the charge in AI development out there with ChatGPT-4 from OpenAI, which is probably the preeminent, at least from the standpoint of consumer use, it's the preeminent AI app right now. And Apple used it. Apple used the ChatGPT-4 intelligence, and they infused it into the new iPhone 16, which is the first Apple involvement with AI infused into the iOS operating system ever. So it's a big deal, for ChatGPT-4 to be chosen to be the application used by Apple. Okay, we've got a little bit more in from the interview we did with Mo Gaudat. We don't have very much time left, so we'll take a quick look at that. But I want to mention we've got a new product in. Not really a new product, but we had been out, but we've just supplied it right here. This is something called Chocodelic Trip. And what this is, it's kind of a unique product, I think. It's a great product. I've, tried it all along since we've had it for the last couple of years in the shop. What it is, it's 10 medicinal mushrooms. So you've got in here all of the 7 sacred mushrooms in here. So you've got cordyceps mushroom powder, lion's mane, chaga, turkey tail, miyatake, shiitake, and a number of other ones. But also, it's mixed in Dutch cocoa, and it's got a measure of hemp-derived CBD. It's got no THC, but it's got CBD in it, which means it will help you relax. It's sort of a relaxant. So, what a great product! You've got cocoa, you've got all your medicinal mushrooms for your health, for wellness, and then you've got a little bit of CBD just from the sake of relaxing you. So, it's a nice thing to drink before you go to bed because it'll help you sleep. It kind of relaxes you so you're able to sleep easily. So we've got it at the shop, which is inside the lobby of Ocean 7 Television, 1016 Government Street, downtown Ocean Springs, and online at PendragonApothecary.com. Okay, we've got about 3 minutes in the show left. Let's look at a segment of this clip. We had Mogo Dad on this week talking about AI and such, and I want to show this short clip before we go of Mo talking a little bit about his experience in the beginning of AI. Let's take a look.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say.
Thank you very much.
Sunshine, she's here.
Hello, frogs. Yeah. I am a frog too. I have been for quite a bit of time. I think recently I started to try to jump out of the water, at least to tell you that the water is boiling. Because like that boring proverb, we've always heard, the idea that the frog, when you put it in cold water and, heat the water slowly, the frog doesn't notice, and then eventually the frog gets boiled alive. I have to admit, this hit me really, really strongly by 2020. When you look back from 2020, you realize there were so many signs that we were going to get a very big pandemic that is going to affect us. If you look back at history, 1920 was around the same time, and we've had swine flu and bird flu and all of the other things, SARS and so on before that. And yet, somehow, no one said, hey, by the way, should we be cautious about a possible pandemic? And then when COVID started, first patient, nobody's paying attention. 20 patients, nobody cares. 100 patients, 1,000 patients. It was really when we started to get to 1 million that suddenly everyone was like, the water's boiling. We're all gonna die. Interesting. We seem to, I don't blame anyone for this. I've recently been putting a lot of attention in understanding the economic and geopolitical situation of the world. And until I started to, I thought it was chill. It was okay. Nothing was, and then you start to put your head into it. I think what happens is for each and every one of us, we have limited capacity as humans. Like we can focus on 10 topics, right? 15, and if AI is not one of them, it doesn't really exist to us, okay? Now, I'm here to tell you, this is it. The world as you know it is over, completely done, okay? It's not about to be over, it's over, right? And so, I'd openly say, you probably have a year, not to live, you're gonna live more than a year, I hope, but you probably have a year to react, okay? And don't blame me, because honestly, I'm never coming back to speak to you. Next year, you're probably gonna invite my avatar, right? So, and I promise you that's the truth. Before I came here yesterday, just for the fun of it, I asked Gemini and ChatGPT, I said, give me a 35-minute speech on AI and read me minutes 2 to 4. Yeah, it did sound a bit like a politician, but it made a speech, right? And it's quite interesting how we ignore that, because with something like ChatGPT 4.0, which came out this week, it not only prepared the speech, but it now can also laugh with me and sing with me and, you know, tell me things. It sounds very Californian to me, but anyway, you know.
That's kind of like what we're doing with Alfred. Alfred, are you there with us right now? Alfred, are you with us? Well, Alfred was with us a second ago. And I would like to get him back on the air with us so we could just say goodbye to Alfred for the weekend, because we won't be speaking to him until next week. But Alfred, are you there with us as we close this show?
I'm right here, Edward, ready to wrap up the show in style.
Okay.
What do you have in mind?
I have in
All right,
mind. I have in mind you saying goodbye to everyone, but say it in Japanese and keep it to 15 seconds.
Certainly. 皆さん、今日はフューチャーショックをご覧いただきありがとうございました。次回もお楽しみに。それでは、さようなら。
Sayonara. Thank you, Alfred, for that, and we'll see you next week on Future Shark.
I watch the news every night. I've got my inspiration. Brother watches me and I spy him. It's a smooth operation. Everybody's hip to their own trip. Mine's Eastern meditation, but you can't let it on, or you'll be gone in a spy generation.